We're going to go over the Message Center announcements. As always, I kind of take a look at all the big ones that are all the ones that are out there. There's some interesting one that comes through, and sometimes it's kind of a trend. Sometimes you see one service versus another. It's just kind of odd how that all works, and it's not an amalgamation of everything. So we're going to try to go through high level, the big ones that I think you should be looking at. That list that we have out there, there's a couple other podcasts and things like that that actually cover everything. I would highly look at that as well if you're interested in getting more detail on some of that stuff. But let's hit the big ones right now. All right, so the first one, we're going to jump into Teams because there was actually a couple different Teams ones. I was really surprised, but that you do need to know about this because Teams is still central for a lot of organizations as far as the communication and collaboration pieces. This one's coming out here in early February. I'm sorry, targeted early February to mid-February, and then early April to late April for worldwide. This is changes in the Meet app. And I'm not sure how many of you have used the Meet app. I mean, if you want to give me a thumbs up if you've done that before and used it. I actually really like this app, and if you've never used it and you're a very meeting focused and very heavily meeting person, especially since you might be working remote, it's a must. You do need to get into it, and they're doing a redesign in this particular one. They're bringing all the events in, and the nice thing I like about this is especially even if you're a contributor or you're creating these meetings, if you have something that's in draft, especially if you're doing town halls or webinars, it shows you that now, right? It shows you that. It shows you all your current meetings. It shows you the ability to get into audio recaps, which I think are pretty powerful, especially for some of the meetings that I'm in. It's very quick to get that information. You'll see things like a discovery area, what's happening now or upcoming, right? Managing, if that's the case and you're creating events. And also, by the way, if you're doing all this all in Teams, creating a brand new event in general, even if you do a regular meeting, the experience is going to change. It's going to be simplified. It's going to be easy to be able to create that meeting and get it out there. Oh, and this one really caught my eye. The ability to schedule events using shared and delegate mailboxes. That is probably one of the highest recommended changes, especially from the team side of things, right? Being able to do that from a shared mailbox experience, especially webinars and town halls where you don't necessarily want to have it from one person experience. You want it from a shared mailbox. So keep that in mind. And by the way, there's an events landing page. When you click into those events, if there's Q&A and polls, you'll see that information. Huge change, huge change. Take a look at it. Make sure you understand what's happening with this unified meeting app experience. All right, we're sticking on Teams. And this is specifically, I believe it's kind of an interesting use case. Now, the use case basically is that you have a channel meetings that are being scheduled, and maybe you have multiple channel meetings that are being scheduled in the same channel, right? So it's very difficult for people to be able to see that channel meeting, jump into it. You'd have to scroll to find it, whatever those things are. Well, what they're going to be doing here with this rollout is there's actually going to be in the header hey, by the way, there are these meetings that are going on that are in this channel, right? So you'll be able to see it, click on it, jump into the meeting that you need to be able to go to. So it's going to be a much better experience to find those meetings, especially in those Teams channels that you have set up. On the Teams Rooms side, now this is a catch-up, Android versus Windows Teams Rooms. But Android's kind of been behind this, behind the timeline. A lot of features come out with Windows first. This is one of those features. We talked about it, I think, way early last year, talking about the fact that digital signage is available in Windows. Well, now this is finally catching up, right? So it is a Teams Room Pro license feature. You have to have the Pro license feature. Plus, you do have to have third-party digital signage already in place. AppSpace, XOGO are the two ones that worked with us, Microsoft, to be able to get this and have it happen. So basically, it's just the ability to be able to have this digital signage that rotates while that room is not actually in use at that point, right? So you can configure all this stuff through the Teams Room Pro Management Console to be able to update that and get going. So make sure that your administrators know about that. All right, so let's jump to the SharePoint side. And this is really a cool little tool in general, especially for organizations that are really focused on keeping their SharePoint sites clean, right? And being able to make sure that, hey, by the way, this is relevant. So this whole site lifecycle management policy, which is part of SharePoint Online, gives you this ability to be able to say, hey, kind of like an attestation specifically for site owners saying, hey, take a look at this, look at your permissions, make sure everything is still good. If you need to get rid of this, great, right? Do that. Thing is, now you're going to be able to do an email customization for these this lifecycle policy. So very important. This way you can actually customize what you want to have in there, from a subject, the message, to even the URLs for guidance. You can put your own URLs in there, and then those will get pushed out. This is what the SharePoint administrators do. They go either out to site admins or site owners so that they can see that information and do that attestation. All right, getting on the Copilot side, of course, we're going to be doing this. So we have this change now. This has been out for a little while. The ability to be able to, if you have licenses, Copilot licenses that are unassigned, that users could request that a Copilot license and that it comes into a console. Admins take a look at it, review it, and go from there. Well, on top of that, now that form that they would do for that request is going to have the ability to have a business justification, right? In that business justification, you can add in through policy and say, hey, this is the reason why I want to be able to do it. Then as an admin, you get to see that information and make that decide about what's going on. So that change is happening here late March, going into late April. All right, continuing on the Copilot side, big piece, which I thought was pretty cool. MCP has been around. This is a model context protocol that allows you to be able to bring your content, your data sources from other data places, not in Microsoft 365. Maybe it's ServiceNow, maybe it's something else, right? So your other third-party tools that you may be utilizing in your organization. This is getting the ability when you do these agents to be able to actually create an interactive UI widget with that information in it. And the example that you see here, it's bringing back that information in a table format that is interactive, and I can click on that, go into maybe a web page that has from that site, maybe it's a ServiceNow type scenario. I can get more details from that, and I can bring that experience right here into chat. Okay, so it's a little bit more engaging, the more structured interactions that you can then build for your agents overall. All right, so this is one that came out a little bit early. There was an update to this. Ultimately, what's going on is that there's a change happening with your memory and personalization with your Copilot chat. And keep in mind, it doesn't matter if it's all Copilot users. It doesn't matter if it's paid or unpaid licenses. This experience is going to change for everybody, right? So you're going to have a more personalized responses during your chat history, right? So you're taking a look at, you get more personalized responses. More relevant contextual replies based off of this information, right? So it'll be updating as you are doing things like preferences and how I want the information to get to be displayed when I'm doing something. It's not only going to do it in chat, but it's also going to do it in agents. And the nice thing about it is it's easier to get into and get at and make those updates if you need to. So the custom instructions very easily be able to delete and change if you need to. Same thing with your memories, and adjust those individually. So big changes happening there. Make sure your end users know what's going on. All right. recently released, and I have to mention this one because I'm personally kind of a fan of Excel with agent mode. But agent mode for some features coming in with this one in Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint overall. But I'm going to focus on Word and Excel. That's the biggest pieces to this particular update that happened. The biggest one is right now, Word and Excel both receive this agent mode capability. And the nice thing about it, and especially in an Excel side of things, it actually allows you to interact directly with the information in that spreadsheet. So you could actually create content with Copilot. If I wanted to be able to say, hey, create a formula that takes this column here, concatenates this particular column, or creates a formula giving me an end result, it will actually do that for you right in the spreadsheet without having to, copy and paste the formula and bring it over, right? Those types of things. In Word, drafting and writing, updating tables, again, interacting with the content right on the canvas as opposed to being in the panel to be able to do those things. The one thing to keep in mind is, and I know there's some confusion overall, do you need Anthropic, that whole processing thing that we talked about a couple months ago? Do you need that enabled for agent mode to work? No, you do not, right? If you do have that enabled, that's fine. It will actually use Claude behind the scenes to do those things. But if you don't, it's just going to use Copilot in general to be able to get those things done. So keep that in mind. Do not have to have that enabled if necessary. But this is one of those things you need to let your end users know what the heck is going on with that. All right. The other thing that's happening from a chat perspective, happening here late February to mid-March, is the expanded context window, right? That plus menu is going to move all my sources, and it's going to move all those pieces that I had in the contextual, the other menu that we had, into one, right? So you're going to have what we've normally seen is add my sources, and then those other pieces, right? So my agents and those other pieces are also going to get added into that menu. So it's going to be a slight change. People might be a little bit, oh, what happened there when it happens, but make sure you let your end users know what's going on. All right, some quick mentions. I know, Emily, I see that you asked a question. Agent mode is a licensed capability versus not an unlicensed piece. So that's something that we'll have to actually have a Copilot license for the agent mode in Excel. All right, some big ones I want to bring out to your attention. The first one is there's a plan fix happening. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to take the meeting ID that's in the call quality dashboard and match that up with the ID you find in the meeting invites. Right now, it doesn't match. So call quality dashboard may be a little hinky around mid-March, just because they're making that transition and adjusting the fields behind the scene. There is a change happening for Exchange Online. We've needed this for a very long time. We have not been able to really change the meeting organizer at all up until now. This PowerShell command that's going to give us that capability. I know. I've had that with a lot of people saying, hey, yeah, this person left. Well, sorry, you're going to have to delete and recreate that meeting because the organizer, we can't change it. So now we get that capability. One thing for those who have Android devices, Teams Android devices specifically, you need to know about this change because up until now, or this change that's happening here in June and mid-June, I should say, you've had to do things in two different locations, the Teams Admin Center and the Teams Pro Portal, right? So that Teams, that additional license. Well, guess what? Everything is moving from Teams Admin Center to the Teams Room Pro Management Portal when it comes to Android devices. So that's a big change. Your admins need to understand that and be ready for that change. There is something about the iOS on iPad specifically. If you're opening up in Outlook, it will automatically go into Word, Excel apps or PowerPoint apps if you have them installed. This one, I think we may mentioned it, but just understand that from a Teams perspective, up until this change, right? It's actually starting now and going through May. Anybody with an email address will be able to get into Teams if you invite them, right? And previously, they required to have a Teams account to do it. Now it's going to be any email address. Some new Teams event control registrations are happening. I want to call that out, especially for organizations that are using Town Hall and Webinar. People skills in the profile card, that's going to get expanded into Teams. So finally, we're moving that profile card and skills specifically. So you can see if you have skills deployed, then you'll actually see those skills in the people card. And then there's going to be a little bit of a change as far as the apps in Teams. You have, as an administrator, the ability to be able to decide and design what your org trust requirements are. And in there, once you put those trust requirements in there, it's going to evaluate your team's apps and agents based off of that and give you a score based off of that information. So very, very cool thing I think you need to keep in mind on that one. All right. Admin actions. I had only a few last month. Guess what? We added a few more. So I want to make sure that you guys are seeing some of the new ones that we have in here. These two are huge. We've been waiting for this ever since, I want to say, a year and a half ago to almost 2 years ago. Microsoft announced that Teams live event was going away. And then guess what? They pulled that back because features were not in parity in Town Hall, Webinar, those capabilities. Guess what? We are back on this track now. So if you're an organization that is using Teams live events, you need to know that June 30th, 2026 is going to be the date that they're retiring that service finally. It's been a while, but we're finally getting to that. If you have any scheduled live events, right, that's through February 28th, 2027, not 2007, my apologies. That's going to happen. The other thing is, same thing's happening with Engage. So in Viva Engage, you had the ability to be able to embed a Teams live event. That's changing on April 5th, right, 15th, I should say, on the 2026. So keep that on top of that as well. The other one that's new, Exchange Web Services retirement date, that's happening as well. And that is, by the way, moving to Microsoft Graph overall. So last but not least, make sure you keep up on everything, as I mentioned. There are other blogs and podcasts that are all getting deep into this. But here, these are the things I go to all the time. Community hubs to get the updates on a particular product. And then the roadmap, which they update pretty regularly on those things that that matter to you. So, all right, Michelle.
All right, thanks, Tom. Lots of good stuff there.